Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So, it's actually been more than a year since I last published my review of the HP Victus with the RX 5500M. I was actually one of the first guys on YouTube to actually review the RX 5500M Victus, and those two videos actually got a good amount of views. So, after 1 year, it's about time that I give you an update about how the HP Victus has held up over the year. But before that, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications. Alright, without any further ado, let's get right into the review. So, in this video, we're going to talk about three main things. That is the build quality, the thermal performance, and the battery life after 1 year. So, let's get going. So, let's start with the build quality, and it's held up pretty well. A lot of people were concerned with the hinge of this laptop and how the lid wobbles. But let me tell you, the hinge is actually very solid. In fact, a bit too stiff as it prevents one finger lid opening. So honestly, there is nothing to worry about the hinge. Yes, the lid wobbles more than other laptops, but I really don't consider it as an issue. So one suggestion would be to put a skin on top of the lid, as the plastic can get scratched easily, and it has built up some minor scratches on the plastic and also on this V logo. Alright, moving on to the thermals, and this has pleasantly surprised me. Here's the 10-minute Cinemage R23 multi-core stress test where we test for thermal throttling, and you can clearly see from the T-die temperature graph that the HP Victus, even after more than a year of use, has no issues with thermal throttling, not even close. That's why the score at the end of the 10-minute test is almost identical to a single loop test. This is great performance. Now, I'd like to clarify the situation with the GPU power draw of the HP Victus. You see, in my original HP Victus gaming review, I was not able to show you the actual CPU and the GPU power draw separately. I had shown you CPU plus GPU combined power draw in that video, because at that time I frankly didn't have the information. You see, the HP Victus with the 5500M has some issue with regards to the readings. You see, hardware Info 64 and MSI Afterburner has certain limitations when it comes to reading the power draws of the CPU and the GPU of the HP Victus, at least back then. However, with some updates, I guess, now we are able to actually get the GPU power draw separately from hardware Info 64. However, the CPU power draw is still messed up, so basically whenever you enable both the CPU and the GPU, hardware Info 64 will actually report the CPU plus GPU power draw, that is the sum of the CPU and the GPU power draw, the combined CPU and GPU power as the CPU power draw. For example, check this out. This is the Unigine Heaven benchmark, and it only uses a GPU. But here you can see that hardware Info 64 is reporting over 60 watts of power for the CPU, which totally doesn't make sense considering the less than 10% CPU usage. However, we can now monitor the GPU power draw separately using this GPU ASIC power metric from hardware Info 64, and the maximum power draw by the GPU is actually 66 watts. That's the highest I have seen. The RX 5500M actually is a 50 watt base power GPU, but Smart Shift adds around another 15 watts or so when you are super GPU bound. And I also want to give you a quick teaser, a full comparison with the MSI BRAVO 15 with the RX 5500M is coming very soon. So stay tuned and stay subscribed. Alright, coming to the final point, that is the battery life, which is one of the most important points regarding the HP Victus. And after 1 year, battery life is still amazing. In my YouTube playback test, I enable metered connection for the Wi-Fi. I put the screen brightness down to 50%. I also enable the power saver mode of the laptop. I disable the background apps, and I use a browser like Firefox to play a 1080p YouTube video to see how long it lasts. And in this test, it still scores above 9 hours and still some battery remaining. So the HP Victus battery life is amazing if you're doing mixed tasks, like let's say you are browsing the web and you're writing some office documents, you're doing some coding, depending on the IDE that you're using, you are still going to get more than 7.5 hours of battery life, close to 8 hours of battery life every time. So the battery life with the HP Victus is fantastic, and the battery life is what separates the HP Victus from most of the laptops in this price range. The combination of the 5600H with the powerful RX 5500M graphics and a good battery life is what separates the HP Victus from the pack at this price range. And that's why, in my opinion, even in late 2022, the HP Victus can be considered if you are getting a good deal, let's say around the 55,000 rupees price range. It is still a great deal and I definitely recommend it. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Wanted to give you a quick update on the HP Victus, and let me know if you are having the HP Victus, how is it going on? Comment down below your experience with the HP Victus. How is your thermals behaving like? How is your battery life of your laptop right now? Alright guys, that's it for this video. Stay tuned for my next video. It will be very exciting as I compare the HP Victus against the MSI BRAVO 15. So definitely subscribe and turn on notifications, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.